The program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The birds are chirping, the sun is just about to peer over the horizon, and this is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another spectacular sunrise safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is the great Senzo, and we are bringing you a live safari. So if you have any questions or comments, or you'd like to share some pictures with us, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. That's the only way to get hold of us. But as you can imagine, it's not just me out here today. Byron is also driving around. He's got Batman on the back of his car, and hopefully, well, between the two of us, we'll be able to show you some animals today. I suppose I should let you know what we are going to do. My plan is to start the morning off by checking the northern boundary, to have a look and see if anybody has crossed in. And I know that Byron is going to just check a little bit of the western corner, and then he's going to go south. Perhaps he'll come past and see what those baboons were shouting at as well. Otherwise, I'll come past there too. But should we have another look at the beautiful painted sky that we saw just a moment ago? Look at that. Now, I have a challenge for all of you who are watching on this beautiful day. I think we need to do our best sunrise pictures, and I'm sure that today's sunrise is going to be up in the top 5. So choose your top 5 pictures, make a little collage. You can put more in if you like, I suppose, and hashtag Safari Live with your most favorite sunrises of all time. And of course, it has to be from Safari Live, of course, on the show. And it'll be great to have a look. We've done it once with the sunsets, but I think that it's time to do it with the beautiful sunrises, right? But from one sunrise over to another, I'd love for you to say good morning to Byron.
Thank you, Taylor. And we have got a beautiful sunrise from the clearings. Look at that, really wonderful colors. Now, good morning again. My name is Byron, and on camera with me is Craig this morning. So we are quite excited. It's a lovely morning, nice cool temperature. So I'm hoping we get some activity from animals, predators most likely, moving around. Now, I think we've still got a few minutes until sunrise, but the color already, as you can see in the sky, is just absolutely amazing. It really is beautiful. Look at the sunrise, Craig. Now, these colors that we can see at the moment through the sky, basically what happens is the reflection of light through the atmosphere. So there's a lot of dust particles and disturbance, I suppose you could call it, up in the atmosphere or in the air. And as the light moves through that, you get these beautiful colors, and that's what causes those orange and red colors, and also the addition of the clouds that helps too. So that's basically what causes those beautiful colors. It's really lovely. Shall we try a tracking shot, Craig? We said we're going to try and see if we can film while driving very slowly and see a lovely tracking shot of the sunrise. Now, Taylor's going to check the northern boundary, as she mentioned. I'm going to try and check a little bit further south, and then probably head east, maybe towards Cheetah Plains this morning. I'll see how it goes down here in the south, and then we shall see. Yeah, but I think I might just head towards Cheetah Plains. And so it's just Taylor and I out this morning. James is James is he is on maintenance duty this morning. James has to fix or assist in the fixing of a mast, one of our towers. So good luck, James. So James is going to be helping with that. But he might, depending if they finish early, he might still pop out on a bushwalk. Otherwise, you'll see him this afternoon again. It's starting to get very light now, which make it a bit easier, hopefully, for us to spot any animals. Bit of mist in the air, slight little bit of mist, especially down in the valleys. You could see that. I'm going to be checking the tops of termite mounds, up in the trees. Maybe there's a leopard lying around. And luckily I've got my flask again this morning for coffee, so I will be able to stop and have a nice cup of coffee later. Craig unfortunately doesn't drink coffee, he only drinks tea. I apologize, Craig. You'll have to put your requests in early in the morning. My thermos. That's it. We call it a flask. I think the rest of the world calls it a thermos. Especially in the United States, I think they call it a thermos. Now, last night was exciting. We got a glimpse of a civet. Unfortunately, it was just so quick, we couldn't really get a good view of it, and then it disappeared into the long grass. But it's the first civet I've seen on Safari Live. We see their tracks regularly, but unfortunately it was just too quick for us to get a good view of. Dear watcher, you'd like to please see giraffe today. I will do my best, see if we can find some giraffe. I'm sure Taylor will also be on the lookout. I think Taylor saw giraffe yesterday, didn't she? I think she did. But we'll definitely try and find some giraffe today. And wouldn't it be nice to see some more elephant? Now, we did get a nice herd of elephant yesterday, quite a large herd. Must have been at least 40 elephants that we saw together, which was nice. The largest herd I've seen in this area. Like I say, this area, Djuma, I've seen a bigger herd down in the south. I've seen a herd of about 80 elephant before. Oh, what have we got up there? Some vultures. Some vultures just perched up in the top of the tree, waiting for the day to warm up, waiting for those thermals. And then they'll probably start flying around looking for food. The white-backed vultures, that's that species of vulture. And we laughed the other day, those of you who remember the original Jungle Book cartoon, they were the vultures that sat up in the dead tree as Mowgli approached, and they all I think they were animated after the beetles. That was the vultures were actually the beetles. What do you want to do today? Something like that. And there's a wildebeest lying down there too. It's a male, dominant male, that I would say there's some oxpeckers on him too. It's actually a nice view of that wildebeest. And why I say it's a dominant or territorial male rather. Now this little spot that he's got, he's lying in an open patch of sand, so he most likely dust bathes there. And then also, it's nice and open, so you can keep a lookout for any predators. But it does get lonely sometimes, I think, for these wildebeest, these dominant or territorial males. So what will happen is the females will move around areas, and then if they come through and pass into his territory, he will then try and keep the herd around him and potentially try to mate with those females. So the males try to have attractive territories, nice open areas, spots where there's perhaps water or rubbing post too, that they can rub themselves up against. And then if those females come past, he'll try and keep them close by and then mate with them when it is mating season. And it's basically, mating season now, or just a few months, last month. It's now rutting season for the impala. So a lot of males fighting and challenging one another. It sounds very quiet this morning. Just a few birds calling. No sign of any predators calling just yet. No leopard calls or lion calls. The other morning, was it yesterday morning, we had quite a number of lions calling. One north of us in Buffelshoek, and then two to the east of us. So there were a lot of lions calling. I almost called them the Majinga Lion. They are not. The Birmingham males, Birmingham Coalition. Alright, let's continue and see. Now, I wonder if we don't swing past the hyena den just to see if there's any activity there. Haven't seen those hyena for quite some time, so I don't know if they've perhaps moved den sites. Kat, you'd like to know what the difference between a hyena and a wild dog is? Well, let me show you pictures too. But the main difference is that, well, the one is a canine, the wild dog or canine. Smaller, much smaller in stature, very slender, built for long distance running, large pack animals, and a hyena is not part of the canine family at all. A hyena is actually in its own family. So let me show you a hyena quickly. There we go. These are the spotted hyena. So the spotted hyena, not part of the canine family and not part of the cat family. They're in their own family, known as Hyenidae. And much larger than the wild dogs. They thicker build, not as slender as a wild dog. And they do live in clans, but they don't necessarily hunt like pack animals like the wild dog do. And let me try to get you an image of the wild dog. I'll show you that. And so they are very, very different to wild dog. Hyena do hunt for themselves, but they're mostly scavengers, especially in these areas. And they are the wild dog. See, the wild dog don't have the spots really, very big ears, and they 100% look like dogs. You can see that dog face. Very different to the hyena. And then pack animals and persistence hunters, which means they run very, very far, very, very quickly, looking for food that they might flush out of bush or thickets, trying to hunt them. So I'm going to continue to see if we can find some hyena, but let's head to Taylor, who's got a never-ending road, apparently.
And the only place where you can have a never-ending road is on Buffelshoek Cutline. How fantastic is that? And it seems to go forever, and that it does. It goes all the way to the Kruger National Park, to the border. But if your eyes are sharp, like Byron's eyes, because he is also pretty good at spotting chameleons, you would have noticed that there's a little antelope just feeding off of the side of the road on a little shrub. And this is a common duiker, a female common duiker. We've actually stopped quite a distance away from her. We must be about 80 meters or so, maybe even 100 meters away from this girl, just because this particular antelope is quite shy and they don't like to be seen. Because they are so small, being right down on the bottom of the food chain when it comes to antelope, this is the second smallest antelope that we see in this area, they will always try and conceal themselves using either the running away mechanism or to freeze. That's the other one. And off she goes, just disappearing into the long grass. And that, of course, grey camouflage helps very nicely. It doesn't matter what time of the year. When you are grey in colour, you blend into the bush very, very well. We'll see if we can get another view. Maybe she'll be relaxed with us because she knows we're here. It's not that she couldn't hear us or she couldn't smell us. It's just that we were at such a far distance. She was quite comfortable to carry on about her day. And she's been standing there for a couple of minutes now. So we'll just see if we can get another view. So I'll drive over very, very slowly. I'm also looking for tracks as we drive over there very slowly. Let's see, so she was just up over here, a little bit further away. So now we need to start looking to see if we can see any movement going through the grass. I'm actually going to switch off and we're going to roll there. So we come in as quietly as we can. Where is she? Oh, there she is, there she is. Now Vienna, oh no, she's just there, just moving off. A little bit, I think, a little bit further to the right. There she goes. Now Vienna, you've said that she's got such dainty little hooves. Most of the antelope actually have tiny, dainty little hooves. Very nervous. You see that? Stopping back, looking at me. And they don't need to have big feet, antelope. Well, the particular antelope here, they're not walking over any substrates, very sandy. And sort of, you see a springbok, a gemsbok, in relation to their size, they've actually got large feet, but they sort of help them walk over the soft sand. You can imagine it's quite difficult to move through sand. Whereas these guys here are typically moving around on hard substrates, so there's no need to have big feet, just tiny little dainty hooves. And it's almost like they're on their tippy toes, because remember, the way that their foot structure is designed is that they are sprinters, so they need to be able to go as quickly as they can. And when a sprinter runs, how does he run? Almost on the tippy toes of his feet. They don't run flat foot, and that's exactly the same thing as an antelope. But how cool is that? Look at her, she's completely invisible in that bush. She looks just like the tree. Now, I believe Rebecca's asked me if I can maybe show you a track, but I don't know if we're going to see one. I'll reverse now. Let me see. The ground's not too soft, and let's maybe see where she was feeding. She was feeding just here. Yes. Let's see, I think that should be far enough for you. There's actually lots of little tracks here on the ground. Now, I'm not worried about getting out the car. She has moved far away from us. She is a little bit scared. But if you look over here, this is where she was standing. She was eating on this small shrub. So here's a footprint. Tiny little hooves, not very big. Just give you, they actually look a lot bigger than what they are at the moment. And I think it's because she's standing on a bit of a downhill, on a bit of a slope, and her foot is slipping in. But you can see pretty small. Let's see if there's one that'll give us, this one's a bit better, Senzo, over here. You can just see the track. Here's a little stick. The track is actually just this part. So there's the back part of the foot. There go the little toes. And there it goes again. So it's not very big. It's only a couple of centimeters big. I'm trying to think what the size of a duiker's track is. Probably about 3 centimeters, 3.5 centimeters. I'll have to look it up though. But very, very small. Tiny little dainty creatures. And she probably stands, if you had to look next to me, I'm 1.72 meters. 172 centimeters, and she will probably stand about that tall if she was next to me, so sort of just above my knee, so not very big. A steenbok would be even smaller than that, probably a little bit just below my knee, but also the duiker, which is slightly bigger, is a little bit more robust. As you can see, they've got a bit more meat on them. The duikers are very, very dainty creatures. Who knows, maybe we get lucky and see one of those today as well. We get plugged in. Oh, but look at the sky. Just look how the sun is just coming up behind that marula tree. It is so beautiful. I could just stare at the sunrise the entire morning, couldn't you? The tree of life. That's what that reminds me of, that scene. Isn't that great? Lovely. Right, let's continue on our boundary patrol. I think that we try and do it and, well, so that we can find all sorts of things. Hopefully we're going to see leopard tracks coming in. However, Byron has got 2 very small birds.
Now, we've got an interesting bird we wanted to show you, a ground scraper thrush. a pair of them. Now they are running along the ground at the moment. Let's just see. I'm going to try roll forward. We should get a view of them. They are just in front of us at the moment. Hold on. There we go. We should get... No, don't fly away. Yeah, they're still on the road there, Craig. There we go. There's one. The back one's actually... Hang on, I'm going to try roll forward. Stay there for us, little birds. There we go. That should be a nice view, Craig. Let's see. Trying to catch insects. A ground scraper thrush. Lovely. Now we just need them to turn and face us. Look how quick they run. There we go. That's a lovely view. See all those speckled markings down the front, all the way down, those black ear marks around the head, those black stripes around the head below the eye, orange beak and orange legs. And that is a ground scraper thrush. That's very, very nice. Oh, haven't seen these for quite some time. So, but exactly why they run along the ground is because they catch insects. So they're looking for insects while they're running around. Perhaps trying to find some in the dung. You can see there's old dung on the road there, elephant dung most likely, and that's what these ground scraper thrushes are looking for. Now, Riti, they're called ground scrapers because that is the name that the bird bosses gave them. I don't know. I think it's because of their behavior, Riti. So because of them running along the ground, they run along the ground constantly like this, looking for food. Hence the name ground scraper, just running along looking for food, combing the land or the ground for potential insects that they will feed on. Now that sun is starting to rise. We should get a nice view of it. Oh yeah, look at that. There we go. Rebecca says it almost looks like a sunset. Well, Rebecca, funny because the sunset looks similar because it's the same sun, just on the other side of the earth. Maybe? Oh dear, Rebecca. No, I think that's a fine thing. I mean, it's a really pretty morning. There's still some mist down in the valley just below us. Straight ahead down there. Now all we need to do, these ground scraper thrushes are still running in front of us. That's very nice. There they go. Now that the sun is rising, maybe we'll have more luck around the hyena den. Often if it's too early, you might not get them coming out. But I'm not sure when last they were seen around the den site, so I'm not sure if they're still there. Okay, I see what look like fresh. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought there. I've spotted tracks, hyena tracks, look like fresh tracks, heading in this direction, possibly heading towards the den site. And keep scanning the trees just in case there's a leopard draped over some branches. There's a wonderful smell in the air at the moment. Now, what happens is during winter, and I mean now even in the autumn months, with the cold air, it forces all the smells and the wonderful bush smells we get and the moisture down, because the cold air is heavier. So that's why we've got this mist now in front of us. We've headed down into a bit of a valley, and we've got wonderful mist, and I can smell the moisture in the air, and you can see all the moisture on the grass too. A lot of dew at the moment. Really lovely morning. These winter mornings, I think, are my favorites. I mean, I do enjoy the afternoon drives, but winter mornings, definitely. I really enjoy them. Okay, so we're almost at the hyena den site. So I'm going to quickly check the hyena den site. If we have no luck, I'm going to drive across to Cheetah Plains and go and see if our luck improves on that side. Okay, let's see. Let's have a look around here. Douglas, there are other animals in the hyena family, and I'll show that to you now. Let's just have a look around here. Still no, I don't see anything. Hey Craig, no sign. Let's just have a look at Douglas, and then I'll answer your question. No. Check this side, perhaps. They often do lie on this other side, but no sign of any hyena at the moment. So as I said, I'm not sure if they've possibly moved off. Yeah, doesn't look like. I don't see any fresh tracks around here at the moment, so I'm not sure. They do change den sites, so yeah, unfortunately no activity here at the moment. So Douglas, I'm getting back to your question. There are other animals in the hyena family. Well, there are two species of a hyena that we get. The spotted hyena, which is the one that we get here in this area, in this part of Kruger, and then another hyena called the brown hyena, which is found mostly in the semi-arid to desert areas, so north and west of South Africa, up into Namibia and that, you get the brown hyena. So there we go, that's the brown hyena. You see that? Very long, shaggy coat. Not really in big pack sizes like the spotted hyena. So quite different, but you can see they do prefer this almost semi-arid to desert area. And then another one, the aardwolf. Let's just have a look. There's the aardwolf, also closely related to the hyena. That's an aardwolf. Very strange looking creature. Now, sorry, aardwolf, basically directly translated means earth wolf. That's what the aardwolf means. But it is closely related to the hyena family, and then that's it. There is I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think in other parts East Africa there's a striped hyena, if I'm not mistaken, but we don't get that down here, so I'm not sure. But it's a brown hyena, the spotted hyena, and then that aardwolf technically is closely related to the hyena. Alright, well, we're going to head towards Cheetah Plains. Taylor's got a large animal in the water she wants to show you.
Not just one, we've got four, Byron, and they are the hippopotamus that you had yesterday that were putting on a show. They also put on a show for me, as one was rolling around and opening its mouth on the sunset safari. But how beautiful is this. We've got the big male on the left, on the far left, and then, well, the rest of his clan. Not clan, but whatever you'd like to call the pod, raft. And they look a little bit on the exhausted side this morning. I think that they've had a long night of doing all sorts of wonderful things, and as well as eating. Good morning, hippos. Thank you very much. It was very kind of you. Wasn't that perfect? I think that he said, yeah, it was a busy night. And the girls have gone, we're asleep now, we're not going to communicate. And of course, a vocalization like that can mean a number of different things. I think because he's fairly relaxed, he's not really bothered by our presence at all. He hasn't turned his head once. I think he was just saying, good night, world, we'll catch you again a little bit later. But it can also mean that any other male hippos in this area better watch out, because this pan is occupied. But isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Now, it's going to be a very hot day again today, sort of quite similar to the one that we had yesterday. So I'm sure it will get to sort of mid-70-degree Fahrenheit. So these hippo, I'm sure, are, well, they're really just going to relax now. I don't think that they will get up to too much more. It looks like the two females on the right have already started the sleeping process, which is quite spectacular, that they're able to stay in the water and continuously go up and down, sort of without having to think about it. It just comes naturally. I don't think it's very deep anymore, though. We did see some elephants come through, but if I'm not mistaken, where the hippos are at the moment, there used to be a bank, like a little wall that separated. We used to have the kiddies pool on the left at Buffelshoek Dam, and then we'd have the adult swimming pool on the right. You know how that is at resorts, how you always have a shallower children's pool and then the deeper adults pool. That's what it was like. But now with all the rain that we've had, there's no more separation. It is just one big dam. But I suspect that it's quite shallow there, and you can see how shallow it is just by the fact that we are seeing this hippopotamus's back at the moment. And I think that its feet, I think that this is a young bull, is just touching the ground. And he keeps his distance, though, away from the male and the two girls. So perhaps he's reluctant to move out. Now, Rebecca N., you're asking how big are the males in comparison to the females. So the one we're looking at the moment, he's not particularly big. He's actually still quite small. So look at him. And then let's have a look at the big bull again on the left-hand side, because just straight away you can see how much larger his head is. So a big hippopotamus bull can weigh well over 2 tons, and the girls, I would say between 1.5 and 1.8 tons, somewhere around there. So basically they weigh the weight of a small car. I mean, they're exceptionally heavy. If you've ever been privileged enough to see a hippo out of the water, you'll know just how large they are. I've had many walking in front of my game drive vehicles before, and I kid you not, they're almost the width of the vehicle, and that's pretty big. And they're quite long too. I think it's about 2.5 meters in length. So not small animals. They definitely, being in the water doesn't do them any justice to sort of show their beautiful size. But it is lovely. There's mist on the water again, and Senzo, we seem to have quite a bit of luck when it comes to mist on the water, don't we? Smoke on the water, should we say. This is very, very cool. I love mornings like this, and this is why I love winter as well, is because it gets so chilly. These areas all fill up with this lovely fog, and it just makes for the most magnificent scene. That's great. Now, we went on a night drive last night, a very, very short one. We just went to a little bumble, and we actually wanted to come and see if the hippos were doing all sorts of wonderful things, but sadly they weren't. The hippos had already vacated the dam and went on with their day. But we did see one, but closer towards Nyala Road. It was not very happy with us. It sort of saw us and was sort of quite shocked that we had spotted it at night. So that was really quite funny. But let's carry on. I'm just trying to think. I don't know where Tingana's gone. I didn't hear any calling from around camp. Oh, I don't know where he's disappeared to. Now, dear watcher, a very interesting question from you, wondering if I'm more worried about hippos or elephants. You know what, dear watcher, it depends. If you're on foot, I would say I'm a little bit more nervous of a hippopotamus, just because I know how sort of frightened they can be outside of the water, and they tend to act quite defensively when you do encounter them, unless they're on the edge of a river or a dam that they can easily run down into. Then it's fine and you haven't got a problem. But if you catch them out quite far away from water, you've seen them even in the cars, they're very jumpy, and I don't blame them. Now, elephants on foot, it depends. You can read their body language quite easily, of course, so I'm not too worried about them. In the cars, not worried about hippos at all. The ones that you do have to be very, very careful of course, the elephants. You need to be cautious and you need to respect every single animal out here in the bush. So it's not just that I'm more scared of the one than the other. But the elephant is the only one that can literally pick the car up and throw it around like it weighs nothing. Where a hippopotamus, yes, it could definitely do some damage. I see there's many videos at the moment sort of streaming around on social media where hippos have attacked cars and they'll pull bumpers off, and those big teeth could quite easily go through the side of your door, so you've got to be very careful. But the chances of something like that happening is quite slim. I find with hippos in winter, we actually would avoid the hippos at the dams. You keep your distance park a lot further away than what you normally would, and that's purely just because they're stressed. They don't have food, the winter months and the drought, they become thin, and it's very, very sad. And you know what it's like when you get hangry. Now try that for 3 months, not having sufficient food. You can imagine how angry you would really be. So can you really blame the hippos? I don't think so. I suppose it's just like with the buffaloes, the same thing with the elephants. Everybody gets a little bit tired. And well, if you don't have enough energy throughout your day, you feel miserable, don't you? Right. Let's see what else we're going to find here. Alright. I think we're going to go and check in Yala Road just to see if Mr. T has walked along here, perhaps in the middle of the night. And I'm going to send you across to Byron now, who is still bumbling about towards Cheetah Plains.
I am indeed bumbling around, but I'm heading towards Cheetah Plains, Taylor. No sign of anything just yet. Okay, just stay with me, but just give me a second. I'm just going to go through a little dip quickly, so I might lose you on and off a bit. Alright, there we go, out the dip, so it should be fine now. Wow, it's actually quite chilly now, hey Craig? Craig's busy wrapping himself up behind me. He's got scarves and all sorts. And Rebecca, I think your weather app is incorrect. It doesn't feel like 17 degrees. It feels a bit cooler now. It feels like 14 degrees. Wind chill factor, that's it, perhaps. So it sounds like James is at one of our towers, getting ready to hopefully fix it. I wonder what's happened to the young female leopard, Karula's young female leopard offspring, little Shungile. Haven't seen her for quite a few days, so I'm not sure. I mean, Hosana seems to be doing very well for himself, clearly. Sorry, there's a spider web here. Let me just get that better. So I'm not sure where she is, if she's still south of our boundary. Haven't seen her around for quite some time. And over here we've just got a lot of hyena tracks. Just double checking them to make sure. Kent, you asked how do I know if it's a fresh track? Well, Kent, it's quite, it's not always easy, but the best thing to do is when you're checking tracks, and let's have a look over here. Let me jump out quickly. So, Kent, over here, now there are a number of tracks around here. There's mostly antelope tracks that I can see in the sand. The best way to tell if they are fresh is, for one thing, the track will be very, very clear. So you'll be able to see it quite nicely. Now, I was hoping there'd be more hyena tracks here, but there aren't. But here's what looks like possibly a kudu that walked through here. Quite a large antelope track over here and over there. Now this looks like from maybe early this morning. So how I can tell is the track is very, very clear. It hasn't been disturbed by perhaps wind blowing more sand into the track. The track is clear. And also, you might get other animals walking over tracks. So if you see hyena tracks or leopard tracks or anything, you might get, like over here, we've got little bird tracks. So this looks like little francolin tracks. Now, these francolin tracks possibly would have been during the morning. They don't walk around at night. So if you see leopard tracks or lion tracks, you see bird tracks going across them, you know that those tracks are most likely from earlier in the evening. So you can then gauge as to how fresh they are. The clarity of the track, as I said, is a big one, but having a look to see how much disturbance is over the tracks might give you an idea of how fresh the tracks are. You might see animals like civet or white-tailed mongoose walking over other tracks. If you see that, you know that those tracks, for example, the lion might even be older, because the civet and the white-tailed mongoose are nocturnal animals, so they would have been moving around at night. So that will then also give you an idea of how fresh those tracks are. But it does take a bit of practice, Kent. It definitely isn't easy to just identify how fresh tracks are. I used to work with a gentleman by the name of Judas. There's a tracker that I worked with for many years, still a very good friend of mine, and I learnt a lot about tracking from him. But he had the ability, he would look at a track and go, it's just walked here 2 minutes ago. And we would drive around the corner and inevitably find the animal that we were tracking. It was amazing. I was always fascinated how he could do that. He just had a sixth sense about tracking. Just having a look around here. There's a lovely little water hole. You never know if animals pop out in these areas, in the clearing. Don't see anything just yet. Winter mornings, or it's not quite winter just yet, but a lot of the animals, because it is still quite chilly early in the morning, they won't start moving around as much just yet. They'll probably move during the course of the evening, rest for a while, and then the early fresh mornings, cold mornings, they'll rest a little bit, and as it starts to warm up, they'll most likely get up and start moving around again. So there is still a good chance of finding predators moving around from about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Find them moving, so we'll try and see this morning if we can find some of those predators. I'm going to head straight to Cheetah Plains. Let's go to Taylor. I'll see you all shortly.
Hello again, everybody. We're almost making our way back to the second dam of the morning, and that, of course, is WildEarthTV Dam, where the baboons were shouting aloud. So I've got my fingers and toes crossed in hope that we stumble across young Hosana. I don't know where he would have really gone. Oh. Right. So what's happening before I even go any further, I just wanted to let you know that we're just doing a little bit of a repair on Gari. So what we've had to do, and Gari is one of our big repeaters which helps bring the signal, which then we're able to broadcast the show out to all of you. So it has been switched off at the moment. That's where James is. He's climbing about it. We're not sure how long it's going to take. So as we're moving around, we're sort of quite limited. That's why Byron is going all the way to Cheetah Plains, because we've got another mast up there that has a different signal that's not related to the Gari mast at all. So he'll be able to chat to you there. And now we've got to be very careful as to where we drive so we don't lose you. And that's why we're going to stick around Vuyatela Lodge. We'll do quarantine. We'll go around Galago, check all of those pans as well. Now, Rebecca, did I have to come stationary because we were worried about the signal? Yes, so if we do lose signal, because I know I've just got to go through this tiny little dip, but then I come back up and I'm right at Vuyatela Dam. Don't worry, don't panic, don't go anywhere. It will only take a couple of seconds, maybe a minute or so, just until we get back signal. So I'm going to quickly make a very quick duck. I'm going to do it as fast as I can. And then we'll be right up at Vuyatela Dam and we should have great signal again. So let's hope the gremlins aren't here. Should we do karate moves as we go through to try and keep them off? Ha ha! Wah! Quill! Cha-cha! Now I should concentrate so I can drive quicker. And rev the car. Here we go. Did we make it, Rebecca? Did we make it? Wait it! Woo! The gremlins did not get us through that little dip. Can you believe it? I think I just need to drive her. Although I talk kind of like this, don't I? I've always got my hands going. What is that? What is in the tree over there? Is it a go-away bird? There's something sitting in a knobthorn. Now I'm not sure what it is. It can go straight in. There we go. Here we go. You got it. Who have we got sitting there? We do have a go-away bird. And I can hear another one shouting above me. It looked strange. For a moment as we were zooming in, it almost looked like there was a dwarf mongoose in that tree. That was very rude. Did you see what that little bird did? When nature calls, I suppose it calls and you can't stop it, can you? But very cold this morning, all fluffed up, sitting right at the tops of the tree of a knobthorn, trying to warm itself up. And I think that's what all the birds are going to do, because it is exceptionally chilly out here today. And off it goes. Bye-bye. There you go, away bird. That's all right. Let's keep going. Vuyatela Dam is right here. You might even see me on the dam cam. Right, let's have a look at what else we've got around here. No, the sand is nice and soft in this spot, so we might be able to see some good tracks too. And I think we need to play the game Who Dung It. That is definitely going to be on the agenda for this morning, is to identify lots of animal dung. See what interesting footprints are here. Just some hippopotami tracks. Okay, now we've got to keep our eyes open. Senzo, are you looking for Hosana? I'm looking for Husana. Now there's many spaces for leopards to hide here, and there's also many spaces for hippos to be walking around. Now Daniel, you were wondering if hippos have territories like leopards do. In a way, they definitely have territories. They're slightly different though. So what happens, and I think I'm going to draw it in the sand for you, so I'm going to jump out the car very quickly. Woo, right. My fingers are frozen. I couldn't even pull my earpiece out. Now I need to find the perfect stick to draw. Yes, this one will work. Now that's too long. It's like I've got a wand from Harry Potter. Ooh. Okay, so if we've got, let's do Vuyatela Dam over here. So this is Vuyatela Dam, and remember the good old days when we used to have Henry? Henry used to live in here. I'm not going to draw Henry because I can't draw very well, we all know this. James is the artist. So Henry will move around in here, but Henry also likes to go over there. We'll draw a triangle for good grazing. This is the best grazing spots. And so when Henry leaves the water, he'll use a couple of animal pathways. There's one, here's another one over here, there's one this side. So Henry will be in the middle. So Henry's territory will be like a figure of 8, if that makes any sense. And he'll probably have quite a few of them around here because they don't always use the same routes. So they sort of have a little bit of their territories in the water, but then as well as when they go out. And we'll see that today. If we go along Twin Dams, I'll show you that there will definitely be a marking, a fresh territorial marking from a hippopotamus. Not necessarily that there are any here, but they do go out and mark territories. They don't, however, have big territories like leopards do. Leopards, I mean, you've seen how Tingana walks. He walks from one end of the Sabi Sand to the other, just about. So his is much, much, much bigger. So a hippo's territory is generally in a figure of 8, a little bit out on the land, and then, of course, in the water. And I suppose it will depend where his pod is. If he does have any girls, that will make a huge difference too. But that's really it. But I'm going to wipe it out of the sand now, because otherwise someone's going to come driving here going, what track is that? And they won't understand what I've done. So we'll just pretend that it's not there. Let's get in, let's quickly have a look around here for Hosana. We'll go check the last spot that he was seen. However, I don't think that he's going to be there. I think he would have moved off by now. I've got to get comfortable. I've got to move my blankie so I can sit nicely. Right, in we go. We're just about to pop out on the dam wall now. And there was a hippopotamus that was walking along here. Maybe some of you saw him last night crossing the dam wall. Maybe there's a hippo in here. No, but there's a heron. Oh, this is cool. Hi, heron. Look at how beautiful that is. Now, as most of you know, I'm a huge fan of watching herons fish. I could sit all day and stare at them in hope to see, like we saw yesterday, catch a frog or a little fish. We seem to have quite a bit of luck about that, but that is a beautiful heron, and a little blacksmith lapwing just at the back, also moving around on the water that looks like glass, but not fishing just yet. Hasn't quite started the morning. Also, like the go-away birds, a little bit chilly. I'm not wanting to really do too much fishing. Different story in the blacksmith lapwing though. That seems to be up and about, moving around, not too bothered by the cold. But I feel like I want to give that heron my scarf, don't you think so? It does look terribly cold this morning and miserable. Now, just as we sit here, I'm going to scan around. I do want to see if I can see any evidence of young Hosana. I haven't had any luck just yet. Haven't seen any footprints coming from central side. Rebecca is very funny this morning, so I will repeat what Rebecca, the director, has to say. She says that the heron looks like it is Snow White and it is doing mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest heron of them all? You are. No? Well, you've got competition because the one yesterday at Bullshook Dam, that was a pretty spectacular heron too. So we'll just have to see. But that is lovely. But there's something to look out for today when you are watching. And perhaps, in between shows, of course, and you're feeling a little bit bored, is maybe the Zoomy will follow the heron around during the day, and hopefully you'll be able to count and do a project of your own and see how many times the heron successfully catches something versus how many times it doesn't. I think that will be a nice little thing to do, and we were actually chatting about that yesterday. So maybe we could all just do it. We could just do our own little experiment and come to a conclusion. We'll have to do it a few times, though, and then take the average. And then we'll have an accurate idea. But lovely nonetheless. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sit quietly just for about 30 seconds because all the birds are just starting to wake up. Isn't that lovely? There's lots of birds, and there's one bird in particular that I've been able to hear in the far distance. It sounds like it's a grey-headed bushshrike. It's doing a territorial call. So that will be one that I'd like to follow up on. It's somewhere in this drainage line between where we are and Wahlberg's Road. So, not too far away. Oh, wow, fantastic. So apparently tomorrow is Dawn Chorus Day. How fantastic is that? So I think we'll be doing a lot of listening. So make sure you clean your ears out this evening so that they are fresh and ready to hear all the calls of the African bush. I think we might have a good birding morning this morning. You've already started with Byron and he showed you quite a few. We've got another 2 bird species here. There's someone that's got the most beautiful call, but I don't know what it is. It sounds like it could be one of the robins. I'm just trying to see if I can see it. I can't see it bouncing around. Sienzel, can you see it up there? Just behind us? I don't know if the aerial's going to be in the way. It's just sitting on the tops of this tree here, just to the left of us. So there we go. Go to the edge of the branches. Go to the right. Go to the right, more right, other right, your right, yes. There you go. Go a little bit more to the right. It's just jumping up the top of the tree. No, don't do that. There it is. Go straight in quickly. Look here. There it is on the screen if you want to have a look. It's up top there. Ah, we're trapped. But we can't, can we zoom in? Because that's perfect. We're on the bird. So there we go. If you go, aim it up a bit. There it is, sitting right on the top of the tree. You have to go up a little bit more. Or we're stuck. Well, there it is. I can't identify that for you, I'm afraid. It's just on top, and we're just in a position where the camera is catching. So we can't zoom in anymore, but it has got the most beautiful call. Should we listen to the call? And then if we can we zoom right into it? It is a little robin, isn't it? It's a white-browed scrub robin. And that's a very unusual call to hear from the white-browed scrub robin too. That's normally not the tune that they like to sing, but stunning nonetheless. And not a very big bird either. Very, very small. Probably smaller than the size of my fist. Quite easy to identify though. You can see the lovely streaking on the breast. And of course, where the name comes from, the white supercilium, the white eyebrow that it does have on its body. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Now, a lot of these birds seem to look alike, and with that ground scraper thrush that you'd seen with Byron, it's almost quite similar, don't you think, in terms of with the streaking on the breast. But this little guy's also got little white tips on the edge of his tail feathers. That's another way you can identify them. And also their habits. So white-browed scrub robins, or like most of the robins, they tend to fly around and land in low branches on trees, so actually more on shrubs. Whereas the ground scraper thrush is either on the ground, or they typically fly up when startled, and they'll sit on the tops of trees. So like dead knob thorns and things like that. They always fly to the high branches. But of course, when you are singing your tune for the morning, I think the best place is, well, to come out to the open, announce yourself, and let everybody know that you mean business. Now, Lucian, you said that this is quite noisy for a little bird. They are. The robins are very chatty. One of my favorite robins is actually a bearded scrub robin. They're very pretty. They've got quite an orange breast to them, and they've got a lovely call too. And when we move away from this robin, just because we're quite close, I'll let you have a little listen. And I also want you to hear the normal call of the white-browed scrub robin, because like I said, it doesn't normally say like that. Oh, have a little listen again. Can you hear that? That's the grey-headed bushshrike that I was telling you about as well. And I actually think it's quite fitting this morning. Because of all the mist, it's quite eerie out there. And most of you have heard this before, but we do have a few new viewers. Is that the grey-headed bushshrike is also known as the spookvoël, the ghost bird. Because you never really see them, you always hear them. And I think that this is just such a fitting scene. But this is really pretty. Whenever we have our big birding days and we try to have our challenges, one of the birds I've always tried to find is a white-browed scrub robin. And I think that this is probably the best sighting I've ever had of one in my entire life. The fact that it is sitting so still and chirping away. Oh, the go-away birds are chirping now. That is so cool. I hope you've all got some good screenshots though, because this is really, really quite special. All the ground-dwelling birds are also starting to call. Now, as we sit here and we look at this beautiful white-browed scrub robin, Daniel, you're wondering why the go-away bird gets its name, go-away. Oh, Douglas, not Daniel. Douglas, sorry. Daniel, you asked a question earlier. So the reason why they're called go-away birds is they used to be called grey lories. However, they realized that Well, the name go away bird is more fitting, and a lot of the birds get their names from the sound that they make, and that's exactly it. So a go away bird sort of goes, go away, go away. Not really like that, but something along those lines. We'll hear if I was good enough, the go away bird should tell me to go away, but they're not just yet. But there are many, many other birds out there that have their names after well, one of the most famous ones, I think you have to say, is the African whoop whoop, whoop whoop. Oh, hang on, now I've been summoned on the game drive radio. Standing by, Mike. Not even one update, sorry, Mike. Mike was just wondering if I had an update on Hosana. I wish I had an update on Hosana this morning. Well, speaking of him, I'm just going to go forward a little bit so we can get a different angle of this heron. Let's try and get a front-on view. So I'll go along the dam wall a little bit, and then we're going to start our search for Hosana. Look at that. That's pretty cool, don't you think? Oh no, don't fly, heron. There it goes. Now, Red, you're wondering, how do animals react when they see their own reflection? Isn't that beautiful as it flies off? Oh, how delicate and dainty was that landing? Well done, heron. You did a sterling job this morning. Now I think it's going to enjoy the warm sun. It's cleaning its bill for the moment. So, you know what? It depends on what animal it is. There's a very, very interesting video from Sabi. So while I was guiding down there, the lions, the Charleston males, used to pretty much live at Earth Lodge, on the roofs, in the camp. It was very interesting to walk guests back in. Well, one day I went around and was waking up all the guests very early in the morning and had my spotlight, didn't see anything. Anyway, on safari, we had all these lion tracks, these male lion tracks around the lodge, and we were searching far and wide, and we couldn't work out why we couldn't find them, until one of the guides was sitting at the dam below the lodge and looked back and noticed that there were two big male lions sitting on the top of the roof. Anyway, they basically... and I promise there's a reason to the story. I'm not digressing at all. Anyway, these two male lions walked down from the roof of one of the luxury suites and made their way to the plunge pool. They then proceeded to have a drink of water, and we discovered that they actually had a kudu kill right outside the luxury suite 4 at Earth Lodge, which was quite hilarious. We were walking past and we didn't even know that they were there. They obviously didn't care. And we had a turtle dove, we've got the 3-banded plover, and of course the blacksmith lapwing. And you can see the birds don't mind their reflection in the water so much. But this lion then walked past one of the sliding doors. There were no guests in the room. It wasn't occupied. It was an open suite. And he turned in. He obviously looked inside. And all he saw with the sun sort of gleaming against the glass was his own reflection, and he panicked and he actually swiped the glass. He jumped up, he growled, and he reacted as if there was another lion standing right next to him. So it depends on the animal. Birds sometimes do it too. You see them pecking in mirrors, and I don't know what they think. They must think that it is another bird, and I think that just demonstrates a level of unintelligence. You often see that apes and things that look into mirrors, eventually they realize that it's themselves. I've seen very cool footage. I think elephants would do something along the same. But with birds, and definitely with the lions, and I'm sure leopards would react the same, and on buffalo, unfortunately, they think that it is another animal right there, and they panic. And you might be able to find that video, otherwise I'll share it a little bit later, of the Charleston male swiping at the glass. It's pretty crazy to think that they didn't smash the entire door down. So yeah, so that's some of the reactions you can get. Otherwise, we have hornbills in camp. Yellow-billed hornbills and a couple of red-billed hornbills that just absolutely love to peck on all the car mirrors, and they particularly like to sit on Rebecca's car and peck her windows. Well, I don't know how good it is for them, but there's very little we can do. I suppose we could cover our windows, our side mirrors, with socks or something, so that it didn't bother them. But I've even had hornbills in the Eastern Cape going down to the lodges. And there was always big mirrors because, as you know, everyone loves to use a mirror to decorate the inside of a lodge. And you'd have massive ones, 2 meters across, 1 meter wide. And then the crowned hornbills would come on inside and then start tap, 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 pecking away at the mirrors, stealing cheese and fruit from the buffet, and then tap, 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 and then they would fly away again. Right, let's start our search for Hosana. Let's go have a look. Now, David and Napa, you're wondering, as we were looking before, you may have noticed there were a couple of ripples in the water, and you're wondering if it was raining or if those are bugs just in the water. It is. It's just little insects on the surface of the water. So boatmen, the fishing spiders would be there too. They'd be causing ripplings like that. Any little midges or flies that unfortunately get trapped on the water. Maybe a grasshopper doing backstroke, you know, training for the Olympics. I'm not sure. But that's all it is. And then, of course, a couple of little terrapin heads, I'm sure, will be popping up. As well, sort of distorting the water's surface. Right, now this is where the tricky part starts. This is where we need to search for leopard tracks. I think I'm actually going to do a little bit of walking around here, and hopefully we'll pick up on some young male leopard tracks. Byron has finally arrived at his destination. Let's go check in with him.
Alarm calling around this area, very, very clear alarm calls, but it is so thick I haven't been able to find the impala, and also there are not many roads. I wasn't able to drive directly to where I heard those alarm calls, but it's always difficult. But I don't see any sign of anything, and they've now stopped calling. I've tried to listen again, listen out for them, but no sign. Just checking this area very carefully. You never know, we might bump into something. I do think, however, those alarm calls, and if there was a predator around there, which I do think there was, I think it was behind us in this very thick block. I think it was back there. Ken, no, not at all. You asked, do animals know if a predator's eaten recently and do they become more relaxed? No, definitely not. If they see a predator, they won't know if it's eaten or not. And the other thing is, Ken, is that a predator is so opportunistic. Even if they have eaten recently, they will still try to hunt because they never know when they're going to get their next meal. So I've seen lions feeding on a carcass, busy feeding, and still get up and chase another wildebeest. So it's they're completely opportunistic. If the animals are around, if there's potential food, they will hunt them. So a case of animals being more relaxed because they think the predator's fed, not at all. That doesn't mean they're safe. I'll drive through here actually. Craig and I are exploring a little bit this morning. There's not roads that either of us have been on before. Hey, Craig? You haven't been here, have you? No, exactly. Bit of a grey area, not exactly sure where we are. Oh dear. I know where I am. Crested barbet calling in the distance. Rebecca was wondering if I'm sure where I know where I am. Does that make sense? Yes, I do know, Rebecca. I'm in the Greater Kruger National Park. Just going through a little dip here quickly, but it should be fine, the signal. It was so frustrating knowing that we're that close to a potential predator and then to just kind of lose it, not sure where it went, but there must have been something walking through that grass to cause those impala to call like that, to alarm call like that. Must have been something around. The sun's coming through, it's starting to warm up. Shelly, now the rarest bird I've ever seen. The rarest bird. I'm trying to think, Shelly, the rarest bird. Well, I mean, in terms of numbers, the ground hornbills, but you do see them more regularly. I did once do a birding trip with some friends, and we saw some really interesting birds. I think though in this area probably one of the rarest birds, the two that spring to mind in this greater Kruger area, and the one is one of my favorites. I'm going to show you. There it is. There. A beautiful emerald cuckoo. Have a look at that. Can you see it, Craig? Is it clear, right? There we go. See that emerald cuckoo? Beautiful emerald green and yellow. Really wonderful, wonderful, beautiful bird. Unfortunately, this app used to be able to turn it this way, and then the picture got bigger. It doesn't happen. I updated it and it doesn't happen anymore. So if you do have this app, if the update, don't do the update. What's wrong now? No, it's not working. Then the other one that I saw, that we see now and then, also not that often, but a Narina trogon. Now this trogon is also a beautiful, beautiful bird, and I've seen that once or twice in this area. Oh, this is not a very good photo. Not a big photo. Can you see that? Look at that beautiful Narina trogon. So that's another rare bird in this area that I've seen. You do get them more in forest areas, thicker vegetation, but I've seen that here too. Beautiful, beautiful bird. Difficult to see. They're very clever. They've got bright red on their front, but a green back. And this bird, what it does, it flies into thickets and then turns its back, so you can't actually see it because the green blends in with the leaves. But as it faces you, you get this bright red, beautiful, beautiful color. Now those two are probably the rarest birds that I've seen in this area, and two of my favorite birds. But let's find out what Taylor's rare bird is that she's seen in this area.
Well, it's a very interesting question, of course. Now, for the life of me, there's one that I cannot remember that I saw in Zambia. It had the most beautiful fluid call, but I'll think of it again. However, otherwise, an emerald cuckoo is a good one too. I saw many of them in Zambia. Again, the Narina trogon, very special bird, but I'm very privileged to see them all around in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. And another one that I saw is a flycatcher. Now, I just need to go into my app to show you. So we'll just go to flycatchers very quickly, and I'll show you which one it was. Now I just have to find it in here. It's on the other flycatcher list. Where are all the flycatchers? My goodness. Let me see if it is here. Oh, well, here's another one that I've seen that's pretty cool, a white-starred robin. Let me get a nice picture for you. This is another one that I've seen in the Drakensberg Mountains. That's a very, very pretty one. Hard one to find. Not particularly bold like we see with some of the other birds, but beautiful, little white sort of spot in front of its eye, beautiful yellow. And I'm going to actually play the call for you because it's quite lovely. So that means I just need to lift my phone up so I can put the volume on. Let's do that, and let's go out. I can't believe I can't remember what this bird is called. Beautiful, isn't it? So hearing that call in the forests of South Africa is really, really quite stunning. It sort of gets my adrenaline going. I don't know why I cannot think of it. And I gave my Africa Bird book away to one of the local fisherman guides who was wanting to become a guide in Zambia. So we will definitely try and have a look. But I won't bore you too much longer with birds. And the reason why is because look who's lying in the very, very long grass. I think Rebecca was wondering if I was ever going to tell you that I had a leopard. But I'm going to keep scrolling because for the life of me I cannot remember this one bird that I saw in Zambia. I don't know why I cannot remember it. Feels like it was such a long time ago. But it will come back to me. I've just had a little bit of a brain issue at the moment. But our dear friend Hosana is still in basically the same spot that he has been for the last 3 days now. And he's just laying up in the long grass. He doesn't seem to be very interested in moving away from here. So that would explain why the baboons were alarming, as I'm sure that he got up and moved around a little bit and revealed himself, and they were not happy about that first thing in the morning. So they shouted and performed. The baboons now have since relaxed, and I haven't heard them calling since very early this morning. And I wonder what Hosana's move is going to be next. Because just when we left him last night, I know we only found him in like the last minute of the show, there were many impala, many inyala, only about 20 to 30 meters away from him, and they're walking right up here. I'm surprised that he wasn't able to catch one of those antelope. A little bit sad, but again, that just shows you he is a young, inexperienced leopard, because any other leopard would have just sat and waited and, of course, taken another opportunity and stashed a kill in exactly the same tree. He's been lucky. He's been avoiding the hyenas. The hyenas and their tracks are all around on these roads, but they haven't come to bother him. But he has finished his kill. He was almost finished it yesterday morning when we spent quite a bit of time with him, and he doesn't look like he's interested in going anywhere at all. But maybe we get lucky. Who knows? The nice shade of the tree. Maybe he'll climb up the tree again. I think that's where he spent most of the day yesterday, and why nobody could find him is because there were so many leaves, and you saw how he just had his eyes peering through, and I think if you weren't 100% sure where he was or where to look, you would second guess yourself and actually go, no, he's moved out of the sighting. But I thought something was a little bit suspicious because I checked all the surrounding roads first, and no tracks except loads of impala, lots of inyala footprints, and as well as hyena tracks, but no Hosana tracks. I thought, I don't know if he's still going to be in the same spot, but let's give it a bash. And as we came around, well, I didn't see him just yet. He was just sitting behind the termite mound. As you can see, we came from the other side of the termite mound using an off-road track that we had used before. And he sat up, and luckily Senzo had spotted him, so we just did a big loop around, and we came to visit him again. So I'm sure that you're all happy that we are still able, well, the last few days we've been able to see our young Hosana growing up and see that he's still doing very, very well, which is great. I'm so happy about this. Now, I do need to call the sighting in on the radio. Let me do that for very quickly, because I'm sure there's many guides that want to come here. Morning mobiles. I've just relocated on Yangodora Ingwe. He's in the same spot as yesterday near Vuyatela Lodge, where he had the bamba. It's just myself here. Please feel free to make your way into this lock. I'm going radio down. I'm going to go radio down. There's only us here, so anybody can come in if they want to and come and join us. Fast asleep, of course, but luckily for us, and we've all got a lot of patience, so we can sit here and try and wait it out. Yesterday morning definitely turned into quite an entertaining morning with that impala that came through, and I must tell you, it was one of the funniest scenes, and we were talking about it last night as to why Hosana didn't catch the leopard. He didn't catch, not the leopard, he is the leopard, didn't catch the impala ram. And what he was doing is every time the impala was sort of staring, going, something's not right here, something's a little bit off, he would then look behind him, and as he'd turn his head behind him, Hosana would pop his head up, and the grass is not particularly long here, you can see it's quite short, and he would stick his head up and he'd watch, and he got quite good. Every time, just before the impala looked back at him, he would duck down and lay in the grass, but he got caught out. As the impala turned on the last time, he'd forgotten to duck, so he basically gave himself away. He showed his entire body, and then the impala was just like, ha ha, I see you. And of course the snorting started, and you could see how frustrated he was that he didn't get an opportunity to really stalk him properly. But that's going to happen more often than you think. And it's just one of those things. Eventually he'll get better and better. But even the adult leopards do of course struggle. The big cats are not the most successful hunters out there. It is exceptionally tough for them. Now, Charlie, you're wondering where Hosana's sister, Shongile, is. I don't know, actually. The last time I heard of Shongile was, I don't know, ages ago, and she's been living around Little Gowrie somewhere, so I'm sure she's fine. I'm sure she's catching terrapins, squirrels, dwarf mongoose, you name it, all those goodies. But no, we haven't seen her, and none of the other guides have said to me on passing that they've seen her, but she'll be around. She's fine. She's really good at catching things like that, and as long as she's consistently eating smaller things, even if she has to catch 10 terrapins a day, she'll be fine. She'll be able to live on something like that, and something will eventually sort of save her. Maybe she comes across an impala ram that has been killed during the rut. That happens often. Last year we saw many impala rams that unfortunately had injuries that went straight through the ribs and punctured the lungs, and then they passed on, and that would make for a perfect snack for a leopard, for a hyena, for a lion, for anything really. But Hosana is not moving. I don't know if he's going to wake up unless an impala decides to join the sighting again, and I don't think we're going to be lucky enough to have that happen 2 days in a row. It is empty. There is not an inyala in sight, not an impala around. I haven't even heard them rutting this morning like they normally do, so perhaps they've all moved on to different areas, which they will do. They've got to keep moving around, of course, to find better grazing. And as I say that, I heard the first rat just in the distance, one snorting. It sounds like there's some impala on quarantine on the big open plains, but he's in a deep sleep. He doesn't even care that we are here this morning. Maybe he finds comfort in us watching him sleep. Right, let's go. I think we need to go and do a loop. Let's move away from Hosana for a little bit. Like I said, he's not going to do much. He's going to sleep, so we'll go and find some other things, and we'll keep popping back past here. But I think that we're just going to watch some spots in the grass, and we've done that plenty at times. Like I was saying yesterday, Hosana is now becoming more and more like an adult leopard, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to spend his days sleeping. He's going to become less and less interested in the vehicles. He barely puts his head up. He puts his head up when we arrive, and he goes, oh, it's you again, and back to sleep. And then he carries on. Okay, let's go see what else is around. Maybe we'll do a quick lap around quarantine. Which way? Left or right? Left. Let's go left. Come from the right. I haven't seen the impala just yet. Perhaps they are still further down on the southern boundary. But let's go back on board with Byron, who's also bumbling around hoping to find some animals.
Hold it. So we are on Cheetah Plains at the moment, in the plains. Craig, just turn the ambient down, please. Now I've come to have a check through these clearings. Hopefully we bump into something around here. But nothing just yet. Let's stop and scan. Let's see, maybe we find something walking through the clearings, or cheetah lying down somewhere, or lions, or nothing else. No, I don't see anything at the moment. Nothing. It's luck of the draw sometimes. Just checking. It's a beautiful area, this very, very beautiful area, but unfortunately there's nothing here this morning, just yet. I still can't get over. I still can't believe those Impala alarm calls that we heard earlier. Just couldn't find what they were alarm calling. Well, we couldn't even find them. They were in a thick block somewhere. So it was a bit disappointing. But we are going back in that direction. So maybe if there is something around, maybe it's still there in that area. You never know, we could bump into something. Just scanning very carefully, because often sit in these clearings and things come out when you least expect it. Rebecca was saying it looks like a real winter morning. It does almost. I mean, I've got my jacket on and open grassland. The grass is starting to turn or change color. You can see it's becoming this yellowish color at the moment. Beautiful grasslands. So I didn't hear what Taylor's rare bird was. Did she tell you what her rare bird is that she's seen in this area? Or the rarest? Oh, so that doesn't count then. She she apparently did tell you about a rare bird, but you can't remember the name. And Zambia, that doesn't count because that's not Southern Africa. So that doesn't count as a bird that we get down here. So Southern Africa, our bird list is about 980 birds, somewhere around there. Can't remember exactly, what 990 birds. And that's Southern Africa, so it's Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and South Africa. That's the Southern African bird list. So technically, birders, if you have a bird list, you've got to have a Southern African bird list for us, which is the bird list that we use in all our books are Southern African birds, because you generally might find some of those birds overlapping into the various countries. But once you go out of that, it then forms part of a larger list. So if you get technical about your bird lists, I wonder, was it not a saw, I wonder, up in Zambia?